Why are people beating a statue? They slap it, kick it, spit on it. The man it depicts has been dead for centuries, yet the hatred for him is still very much alive. His name was Qin Hui, a government official blamed for destroying one of the greatest generals China had ever produced. But what could a man sitting behind a desk have done to make generation after generation punish his image? To understand that, we have to go back nearly 900 years, to a war, a hero, and a betrayal China has never forgiven. Welcome to Paws&Clues with Ajax. Every case leaves a trace, and this one leads back to 12th century China. The story begins not with Qin Hui, but with the world that made him possible. In the early 12th century, China's Song dynasty was facing an existential threat from the north. A powerful new empire had risen, the Qin dynasty, built by a people called the Jurchens, and they were devastating everything in their path. In 1127, Qin forces captured the Song capital and, in one of the most humiliating events in Chinese imperial history, seized the two emperors, the retired Emperor Huizong and his son Emperor Qinzong, and dragged them north as prisoners. The entire northern half of China was gone. The court fled south. A new emperor took the throne, Gaozong, a surviving son of the captured Huizong, and what remained of the Song dynasty tried to regroup in the south. China was broken, demoralized, and desperate. And into that desperation stepped Yue Fei. Was born in 1103 in Tangyin County in Henan Province to a poor farming family. He enlisted young, in his late teens, and rose with astonishing speed. But what made him legendary wasn't just his military talent, it was who he was as a person. According to one of China's most famous legends, before he left home to join the army, his mother took a needle and ink and tattooed 4 characters across his back. Jin Zhong Baoguo, serve the country with utmost loyalty. Not as decoration, as a lifelong oath. And Yue Fei lived every day of his career as if he meant it. He built his reputation through a remarkable string of victories, battle after battle, campaign after campaign, against a Qin army that had already humiliated the entire Song court. Yue Fei held, pushed back, and advanced. His troops, known as the Yue family army, were famous for their discipline. They were placed under strict orders not to loot, harm civilians, or behave like an occupying force in the territory they were fighting to reclaim. People across China trusted them and celebrated them. Yue Fei recovered territory that had been considered lost. He pushed the Qin forces back north. At one point, his army was advancing toward the old northern heartland, and his goal was clear. Push north, recover the lost territory, and restore the Song dynasty's honor. He had a phrase for it: 直捣黄龙, strike straight to the dragon's lair. After years of humiliation, it no longer seemed impossible. And that is exactly where the story turns dark. Because not everyone in Hangzhou wanted Yue Fei to succeed. The emperor's chief chancellor, Qin Hui, had spent years arguing for a different strategy. Where Yue Fei saw a war that could be won, Qin Hui saw a war that should simply be ended. He pushed for a negotiated peace with the Qin dynasty, arguing that continued fighting was too expensive and too risky. The emperor, Gaozong, was inclined to agree. And for Gaozong, the question was not only military, it was personal. His captured older brother, Emperor Qinzong, remained alive in Qin territory and possessed a powerful claim to the throne. If Qinzong returned, Gaozong's position could become extremely complicated. Gaozong had become emperor in the chaos of the Qin invasion, and a successful northern campaign by Yue Fei might undo everything he had built. So when Qin Hui pushed for peace and for removing Yue Fei from the equation, the emperor did not stand in his way. In 1141, at the peak of Yue Fei's military career, when his army was advancing and winning, he received 12 consecutive imperial edicts ordering him to withdraw immediately. 12. He obeyed every one, pulling back from territory he had just bled to recover. He came home, and then Qin Hui moved against him. The charge was treason and disobedience to the emperor. When the general Han Shizhong demanded to know what evidence actually existed, Qin Hui gave an answer that became infamous. More shuyo, roughly, perhaps there is. 3 words that came to symbolize a conviction without proof. Yue Fei was arrested. His son Yue Yun was arrested alongside him. Yue Fei was imprisoned at the Court of Judicial Review in Hangzhou, and on January 27, 1142, he was put to death in prison. He was 39 years old. His son Yue Yun and his subordinate Jiang Xian were executed the same day. The Songjin peace settlement was being finalized around the same time. According to the traditional account preserved in Song sources, the Jin side had demanded Yue Fei's death as the price of peace. In the years and generations that followed, the reaction spread across China, and it never truly faded. Yue Fei became a martyr, then a legend, then something close to a national saint, the ultimate symbol of loyalty, sacrifice and service to one's country without compromise or reward. His 4-character oath, Jin Zhong Baoguo, became a phrase generations of Chinese schoolchildren would come to know. Qin Hui became the opposite, synonymous with betrayal, cowardice, and the corruption of power. Long after both men were dead, China had decided exactly where each of them stood. After Gaozong abdicated in 1162, the new emperor, Xiaozong, officially rehabilitated Yue Fei and restored his honors. In the decades that followed, Yue Fei received further posthumous titles, including the name Wu Mu, while Qin Hui's own titles and reputation became the subject of repeated political reversal. By 1221, a full temple complex had been built at Yue Fei's tomb in Hangzhou. Nearly 900 years after his death, he is still revered. And Qin Hui is still despised. The kneeling statues were first installed during the Ming dynasty, in the 15th century, more than 200 years after Qin Hui's death. 4 figures, Qin Hui, his wife Lady Wang, and 2 accomplices, all cast in iron, kneeling with their hands bound behind their backs, positioned directly in front of Yue Fei's tomb, so they faced the man they destroyed for eternity. The abuse started almost immediately. People spit on them, hit them, kicked them, struck them with shoes. The statues have been recast 11 times over the centuries. Each time they disappeared, later generations brought them back. The hatred never stopped. The current statues were installed in 1979 and are already visibly worn and dented from decades of blows. There have been signs asking visitors to stop. Barriers have been erected. None of it has worked for long. The hatred is not a tourist performance. It is genuine, and it has been passed down from generation to generation. But here is the question that history has never quite settled, and it is one worth asking. The statues show Qin Hui kneeling in shame. His name is the one that became a curse word. His face is the one people spit at. And yet Qin Hui could not have done any of this alone. The arrest required imperial authority. The execution required imperial approval. The 12 edicts recalling Yue Fei from the front, those came directly from Emperor Gaozong himself. Qin Hui was the architect of the betrayal, yes. But the emperor signed every document. The emperor gave the order. The emperor had his own reasons for wanting Yue Fei silenced. Reasons that, when you examine them, were not about China at all, but about his own hold on power. Gaozong's reputation has suffered in the historical record. Scholars and historians have acknowledged his role for centuries. But there are no statues of Gaozong kneeling in the mud. No one spits on his image. History chose one villain, put him on his knees in iron, and let the other one fade quietly into the background. Whether that is justice, or just the way power protects itself, even from beyond the grave, that is a question worth sitting with. That part of the story is still open. Thanks for watching Paws and Clues with Ajax. Until next time, keep following the clues. I'll see you in the next one.